Well, hello and welcome to the Youth Solution Jobs for American Graduates Virtual Post-Secondary Initiative. For those who don't know me, I am Daniel Mathinia, the Manager of Program Success for the West Side of the State with Youth Solutions, and we are the statewide nonprofit overseeing Jobs for Michigan Graduates, or the JMG program, and I am very excited to be here with everyone today. I wanted to extend an especially warm welcome to our friends Megan Hawken and Lewis Thomas from Kalamazoo Valley Community College and Kalamazoo Valley Accelerated Associates Program, or the KVAP, who took their time out of their busy schedule today and are joining us and gonna really give us a lot of good insight and the opportunities they offer at KVCC. So, to our youth, thank you for coming. I know it's been a hectic week for everyone that was in person, and this is your first or second full day virtually, and to all the virtual students that have been all year. Know this event was designed exclusively for you. So at Youth Solutions and the JMG program, we're committed to ensuring that all Michigan youth are educated, employed, and career-bound. As such, we will help you explore as many career and educational pathways as possible prior to you receiving your high school diploma or GED. So in the weeks, months to come, you will be invited to attend as many of these events that we're having. We're going to be featuring large and small employers from every career cluster in our state, as well as colleges, universities, so that you can be exposed to as many opportunities as possible. So for our agenda today.
And I mean, to drink coffee every day way before I started working.
Right.
All right, so our agenda today, after I give my spiel, Megan and Lewis will take over. And then as we continue, we'll close with just any questions that you may have. So housekeeping items, this will be recorded and saved, and this is so we can present it, or our teacher specialist can present it to more youth. The more youth we reach, the better. And then also, please stay on camera when possible, and if you have to step away, please turn it off. Keep yourself on mute until the Q&A session. If you do have questions as we're presenting, please type them in the chat box, and Molly will do her best to pass those on. And if this turns into more of a conversation than presentation, as Megan and Lewis said, that they're more than happy to do that. The more engaged, the better. So please keep the questions or comments coming in the chat box. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and go ahead and hand it off to Megan.
All right, well, welcome everybody. We're really excited to meet you today. As Daniel mentioned, my name is Megan Hawken, and I'm the Director of Enrollment Management at Kalamazoo Valley Community College. So my team and my work, we focus on helping anybody who wants to get started taking classes, figure out, when or what they want to do when they come here, and then go through the steps to get started taking classes. So you may just be kind of starting to look at a search. You may be more serious about it right now. We help everybody, no matter where they're at with that, but oftentimes the first person you might meet is me or someone on our team. So today my plan for you is to work with Lewis. He's going to tell you more about his program a little bit later in the presentation. I'm going to talk to you all about what is Kalamazoo Valley, where are we at, what do we offer, how can we help you meet your goals. So I'm going to I want this to be really useful for you. So rather than just showing a PowerPoint, I'm actually going to walk you through the website. So if maybe you find something along the way that interests you, maybe this will help you to be able to know how to get back to it again. So I'm going to share a few things in the chat with you. So first off, there's a contact form that I think a lot of you have already filled out. Let me pull it up here real quick so you can see it, and maybe that'll help you see if you filled it out or not. I'm going to start with our website here. But if you see this contact form, can you guys see that? It says, "Are you ready?" at the top. This lets me know that we met you today and that you were here. So that way we can follow up with you if you have any questions. So we'll be putting this in the chat for you. This link to this form is just asking general information so that if you've applied to the college before or even engaged with us, we can connect you back to there. Okay. All right. So to get started though, like I mentioned, we're just going to start at the home page of the website. So if you've been to our website before, this might look familiar, maybe the first time you've seen it. But for Kalamazoo Valley, we are a community college in Kalamazoo County. So we are right at the southwest corner of Michigan, and we serve a lot of students. We can range from one semester from having anywhere from right now between like 6,000 and 8,000 students at a time. The cool part is though that our classes are still pretty small. So whether it's a virtual class or it's a face-to-face class, our classes are usually well below 30 in a class. So it can be a really nice fit for a lot of students. The nice part is because we have more students or quite a few students there, we're able to offer a lot of different types of programs and degrees along with a lot of different types of services too. So if you're just starting and you're coming to the website here, look, before I get into that, I should also mention, just like Daniel said, I want to echo too, if you have questions, feel free to ask them as I go. I'm very casual, so I'd love it if you want to have a conversation with that. So don't let me skip over stuff if you have a question. So let me see here. So if you come right here to the website, some of the first things you're going to notice is lately we've had this huge banner right on the front with free tuition for essential workers. Some of you may have heard about this program called Futures for Frontliners. This is a program for folks that have worked in service industry in the front lines over this time of the pandemic. So really from, I think it was March or April until June. So you may think, well, maybe I qualify for that if you had worked in, anything in health related, but if you worked delivering food, working in the food industry, at a grocery store, at a gas station, numerous types of things are meeting the qualifications for this. It's a pretty simple application that you can fill out at the state level. It's right here on our website. So you do their application to see if the job you were working qualified. And then from there, they'll have you complete what's called the FAFSA, which we'll talk about more later, but it has to do with financial aid, to see if you qualify. If you're still in high school and haven't graduated yet, or under 18, you probably not meet qualifications. But if you're joining us and maybe you recently graduated or you've been out of school, you may meet the qualifications. So if you have questions on that, I can definitely follow up with you afterwards too. Okay. So again, if you're coming right here and you want to learn a little bit more about us, these buttons right here about take your next step are a really good place to start. So I'm going to show you a little bit about visiting us because this shows you some pictures of our campus since we can't actually be there live today. So I don't know if the pictures are loading for you. They're loading for me right now, but we have really 4 campuses at Kalamazoo Valley. Like I said, we're right in the Kalamazoo area. Some of our campuses are more urban and they're in town, and some are more rural. So Texas Township, I'll refresh and see if those pictures come up. But our Texas Township campus, that's really known more as our main campus. That one's a little bit out of town, but that's where the majority of our services are at. We've got business and computer science. We've got, English, humanities, or human services, social sciences, all these different things. Our industrial trades and engineering programs are there, as well as dental hygiene and medical assisting too. Next over, we have our Arcadia Commons campus. Okay. And this is our downtown campus. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I'm sorry those pictures aren't popping up for you though. But for our Arcadia Commons campus, that is right in downtown Kalamazoo. So if you're familiar at all with the city of Kalamazoo, there's this big hotel there called the Radisson. Kind of looks like, people say it has like spaceships on the top of it because it's got these big round kind of, you know, platforms at the top. Well, right next to that, we have our main downtown campus. It's called Anna Whitten Hall. That's where Lewis's program is held at. It's also next door to the Kalamazoo Valley Museum, which is also owned by the college. And then we also have our Center for New Media down there. So if you're interested in web design development or visual arts or graphic design or video production, any of those types of programs are down at the Center for New Media too. Very cool programs. We also have our Bronson Healthy Living campus downtown. That is where, if you are interested in connecting with health careers or in culinary or brewing programs, those are our Healthy Living campus. So we've got a number of different types of degrees that can fit into that. As far as our culinary goes, we are really based in sustainable living and using food as medicine. So we tie into healthcare with that, but we've got our culinary sciences, we have a baking and pastry certificate, and then our brewing program too. So you just have to be 18 to be in that, but it's #1 in the country right now, which is pretty exciting. We also have our health careers programs, which we're really noted for too. So nursing, we have our emergency medical responding team, our EMS teams are down there, respiratory therapy as well. So number of different programs you can do there. And the nice part is it's right across the street from Bronson Hospital. So your internships and your experiences are really connected to the career you might be looking to go into also. And then we have our Groves facilities too. So our Groves campus is really based around what's called workplace programming. So if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know that I want to go to college, or I don't know that I want to spend years going to school, but I really want to get a job that I love. I want to be able to make good money, and I want to do something that I like, right? So these programs may be a good fit for you. They're really intentional. So say you're looking for something, maybe you like adrenaline and you really like working with your hands. A program we have there, for example, is our wind turbine technician program. So you know the giant wind turbines that collect energy, you might see them, you know, if you're driving down the highway sometimes. Well, these folks that do this program are the folks that like would climb to the top of those, all harnessed in, and they would do the maintenance on those. And this program is only 6 months long. It pays really well. You can relocate for sure. There's a lot of opportunity to relocate for this program, but it's really intentional programming, right? So phlebotomy, police academy is one of the academies here. Patient care academy. So if you want to get a CNA license, those types of programs. So for example, patient care and phlebotomy, those are much shorter. They might range from 6 weeks to 10 weeks for one of those programs. So in just around 2 months, you could end up having a certificate and go straight into the workforce. So there are tons and tons of different types of classes and degrees you can get with us. But if you want to learn more about any of those, you can actually take virtual tours right here on the website, or you can just look here if you're not sure where it might be. Okay. So if we go back to the home page of the website here, the next part is really about more information. So if you want to learn more about the college and what we have to offer, you can go right here. You can see myself and my team are all listed here with our contact information. But we also have our view book, which I'm going to share with you guys. So you can click on that to download it, or I'll actually share it with you right here as well. Okay. All right. So actually, I think I'll do this right. Perfect. So like I mentioned, we have 4 campuses. At the time we wrote this, we had closer to 11,000 students. We have quite a few less right now because of COVID, but our enrollment can range anywhere up to that high. A good portion of our students are first generation students, which means that they are the first folks in their family to be coming to college. We have international recruitment, so we have students from all over the world that come to us, let alone all over the state. And then we have a lot of students here that come that are still in high school. So you can do classes part-time, meaning you might only take 1 or 2 classes, maybe up to 6 credits, so maybe 3 classes, or you can be a full-time student, which tends to be more like 5 classes or so. Okay. So if you're not familiar with the Kalamazoo area, again, there's a map with a star. We're right really southwest Michigan. We're 45 minutes from the lake. We've got tons of lake access and lots of things that families can do in the area here. Or that it's got, well, when it's not COVID time, there's usually a pretty fun downtown scene. It's a little quieter these days, but I'm sure it'll come back. But some cool things to note about us too is that we do really engage with community. So we have a lot of events that you can really get connected with. So for the Center for New Media that's downtown, they will participate in what's called Art Hop. So the Art Hop will host, it's the whole city does it, the first Friday of every month. They'll showcase art. They'll have student art involved in that too, but it's another good way to connect with community. So there's a lot of different things we try to do with that. That's just one example. We also have a lot of clubs and organizations. So right here, I don't know if you can read this, but there's a quick list right there of just some of our more popular organizations. We've got honors fraternity that you can be a part of. We've got special interest groups. So like we have like a science club and a Spanish club, soccer club, program based. So if you're studying something, for example, there's a nursing and dental hygiene club. There's also, again, more interest stuff like gaming and just all sorts of cool things. So if you wanted to be part of a group and maybe you haven't seen something you're looking for, you're looking to connect, this is a good place to start. And if we don't have what you're looking for, it's really easy to get one set up too.
Hey, Megan, there's a question and a comment in the chat. The first one is the comment from Jocelyn. She absolutely loves living in Kalamazoo and she loves the Art Hop. So for people that are very social, that's an awesome thing. And the question is, are there housing opportunities for students and transportation to campuses?
Thank you so much, Jocelyn, and thank you, Molly, and whoever put that question in. That's a really good one. We do not have housing, so we do not have our own dorms on campus. That being said, if you are familiar with Kalamazoo at all, we are very much a college community. So there are tons of apartments. They range in all sorts of different things. So we've got ones that are more affordable, some that are really expensive. We've got 1 bedrooms, we've got, you know, townhouses with maybe up to 6 different rooms for people. There's a lot of opportunity. We have some folks on campus, our special resources or our life resource coordinator, her name is Cody Dunton. She has a whole list and she really helps us for anybody looking for housing to help get connected and find something. So just because the college doesn't own it, there's still tons of opportunity for folks outside of the area to get connected with affordable housing too. And then for transportation, this is one of my favorite parts that we actually have a lot of people from the Grand Rapids area that come to us over some of their more local options because of our transportation and our parking. No matter which campus you are at, our parking is free. So even if you're at the downtown campus, we will actually reimburse your, or I shouldn't say reimburse, we'll validate your parking. So normally if you were coming downtown and you were gonna park in a parking structure, you would have to pay to do that. At Kalamazoo Valley, if you're coming and taking classes, we will give you like a pass. So when you go to get out of the parking structure, you won't have to pay. So the college takes on that expense for you. We also have the Metro Transit, which is the city bus system that comes to all of our campuses too. So you can definitely have public transportation that comes back and forth to all the different campuses, even the ones that are more out of town. But besides that, parking is free at every single campus and you can always find parking. So that shouldn't really be too much of a concern for you, but that's kind of a nice benefit too. Also too, if you, The bus is not free for our students. However, you can get some help with that. They have a reduced price that you can buy passes for, and you can buy them using financial aid dollars too. So if that's something you're wondering about, that is another option too. Any other questions at the moment? These are great. All right, we'll keep going. So one other thing I just wanted to highlight on here too is we do have sports on campus. We do have 5 intercollegiate college teams. So we've got men and women's basketball, baseball, softball, and women's volleyball too. And they also offer scholarships. So if you were looking for something like that, that may be something for you to consider as well. We also have a band and a choir on campus that you can be a part of. You don't have to major in that to be a part of it. It's a community-based band too, which is kind of fun as well. We also have a restaurant at our Bronson Healthy Living campus that is run by the students, and it's really, really nice. Sometimes they'll do really high-end things. Sometimes they'll do more like grab and go, tasty options, but it's always really, really good. It's super affordable. And the cool part too is that if you buy food there and you participate in that, then the proceeds from it actually go to student scholarships, which is also kind of fun. So another thing too, we really take pride in our faculty. So our teachers, our professors, we have ample amount of faculty available. All of our classes are taught by them. They're not taught by adjuncts. Or I shouldn't say not adjuncts, I'm sorry. They're not taught by interns necessarily or teaching assistants. An adjunct professor, if you're not sure, means that they're part-time. So maybe they don't have as many classes they're teaching as a full-time would. So we do have that. I apologize for that. But our ratio is 1 to 23. So lots of faculty available. They have office hours. So if you ever have questions, they're there to help you. And the cool part too is because of our class sizes, they really kind of in a way feel similar to a high school class size. So your professors know if you're there or you're not. It is true, they're not going to necessarily chase you down, but they will really build a relationship with you and they'll know if you're not there. And a lot of times they'll reach out just to make sure you're okay. But you're not going to feel like a number. You're definitely going to feel like you're part of a community.
Megan, there's another question in the queue.
Great.
Some students who qualify for frontliners are also Promise eligible. How do these two programs complement one another when paying for college expenses?
That is a really good question too. So that is definitely the truth. There also, you may be a frontline qualifying student, but also qualify for Pell Grant or for TIP or for other types of scholarship and aid, fostering futures. So you'd really want to talk to our financial aid office, because I can tell you, we were dealing with this yesterday even. It's not necessarily the same for every scholarship. And I'm really not positive for Promise. Lewis, I don't know if you know that. I know that some of the scholarships that say they're strictly for tuition may not get, they may not, you know, carry over then and get the like a refund from the additional dollars. But some scholarships, I know, like some academic scholarships or some other types, you can get what's called a refund, which means that your scholarship amount or your award amount, maybe say, you know, just for quick numbers, might be like, you know, $8,000. And then your classes might only cost $5,000. Well, that extra $3,000 might be able to be a check that is actually given for you to be able to use for living expenses, for transportation, for books, for childcare, for offsetting the fact that you're not working as many hours. So I can't speak specifically to Promise and the frontliners, but our financial aid office or the Promise office can answer those very easily. I'm sorry, I don't know that. But I can follow up too if you have another question and want to email that to me directly as well.
Okay. And there's another comment from Greg Fairwarn. You might want to mention a number of the classes transfer to Western Michigan. And for him, that helped him get his degree.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that up. That's a great segue into what I was just about to talk about. So right now we do have over 60 associate's degrees. So at a community college, we offer, like I mentioned, some shorter programs. They offer what are called certificates. So they're a lot shorter. They don't offer quite as many classes for the degree. So that's a certificate instead of an associate's degree. An associate's degree is traditionally about 2 years. Nursing and dental hygiene tend to be an exception where they're more like 3 years, but they're also some of our highest paying positions. For example, dental hygienists tend to start at about $28 an hour after graduation from us. But another huge piece, about half of our students that come with us come with the intent to transfer. So as one of you mentioned, Western Michigan University is one of our primary locations that we transfer to. We have tons and tons of folks that take classes to go over there, but you can transfer all over the place. So as we look forward here, we've got 2 different pages here that I'll show you our programs of study. So you can study everything from art and new media to business to education to English to our health careers programs. And then also we've got industrial trades, so things like welding and auto and working on heating and cooling systems, electrical, public safety. So if you want to go into criminal justice, or if you want to do science and engineering, maybe you want to be a pilot, you can do that and start with us, and then you would transfer. So think about it like in high school, if you had done your freshman and sophomore year at one school, the next year you might be going over to a different high school. Well, in that case, you're probably not going to start as a freshman. You're going to be taking the content you learned at that first school to substitute those first 2 years at your next school. So really it would be 2 years at one high school and 2 years at another high school to get a degree. It's kind of the same concept for us. So you could take 1 or 2 years of classes with us, transfer them to Western where you could start as a junior and then only do 2 years there to get what's called a bachelor's degree, which is a traditional 4-year degree. Okay. So like we were talking about, we were already talking about financial aid and some scholarships. Our financial aid office is dedicated and committed to helping you find resources. So they are going to work with you to fill out what's called the FAFSA, or that free application for federal student aid. You can do that on your own, but they will help you through it too. And it asks a lot of kind of invasive questions, but what it's doing is trying to see if you qualify for any money to help pay for school. So like I tell people a lot of the time, if you get Pell Grant can pay sometimes up to $6,000 a year, and that is not a loan. That is money you do not have to pay back if you're coming to classes and being successful. So for example, if you were to, fill out this FAFSA, like I said, it takes about an hour, asks you pretty invasive questions, but you could potentially get $6,000 from it. When you think about it like that, that hour's worth of work filling it out doesn't seem quite as cumbersome anymore. But we also, if you're, looking for other scholarship opportunities, like I mentioned, we have athletics, we have academic-based scholarships, lots of options for you. Okay. The big thing of why people come to Kalamazoo Valley, part of it is because it's really affordable. We are one of the most affordable colleges and community colleges in the state. So for most students, if you are from in district, so meaning that you're within a school district within Kalamazoo County or Matawan, or you live here, you relocate here, and you're in that area, for most students, their programs tend to be about $3,000 a year if they are a full-time student, which means you're taking 12 credits in the fall and 12 credits in the winter, or something along those lines, a minimum of that. But when you think about how much college costs at most schools, it's usually much more expensive. Most public four-year schools like Michigan State, U of M, Western, Grand Valley, Central, those tend to be closer to $15,000 or so a year just for the cost of the tuition. Private colleges, those are colleges like Albion or Hope or Kalamazoo College. Those are much more expensive and can be upwards of $35,000 to $40,000 a year. So We're very, very affordable. If you live out of district, you can see here, your tuition would start out a little bit more. If you were commuting from, you know, say you live in Grand Rapids and you're going to keep coming here, your tuition may be closer to $5,000 or $6,000 a year. So still much more affordable. But you can see here, over $21 million worth of financial aid awards given each year.
Megan, there's a, excuse me, there's a suggestion in the chat. Please stress the importance of filling out FAFSA. And William Braylock replied with that saying, FAFSA is amazing.
That is so true.
Talk about that as well as, do you accept phase 1 of TIP?
Yes, absolutely. These are great points. So like I said, I mean, I cannot stress to you enough, FAFSA is a critical part of college, and it's really, really important, because what's the worst they're going to say? You don't qualify for anything? You know, that's not great, but if you don't fill it out, then you don't qualify either. So it's really, really important. That is the way that you can qualify for free money that helps pay for college, things like I mentioned, like Pell Grant, but it's also how you can get student loans. As somebody who has a lot of student loans or has been paying them off, it's not fun, but there are tons of different things you can do, and you don't have to get loaned by filling out FAFSA, but that's the way you would do that. But again, free application for federal student aid. And that is really, no matter if you're coming to Kalamazoo Valley or really any other college, you'd still fill out the FAFSA. You can do that before you have made a determination on which school you want to go to. And really, it's one of the first steps in a college search that you want to do is to fill that out. If you do receive futures for frontliners, it's a requirement of the program to fill it out. And as we talked about TIP, the tuition incentive program, if you do qualify for it, we are a phase 1 school, which means that if you qualify for the TIP program, your full tuition and fees can be covered by that program at Kalamazoo Valley. Okay. I'm going to keep moving here so you guys can see some other things as well. Our student services, we have so many services that are designed to help you be successful in school. So we have everything from career counseling, counseling and advising. Kalamazoo Promise has their own office right in our institution. We have program for veterans. We have transfer resources. As I mentioned, if you think you want to start with us and go somewhere else later on, life resources, multicultural services, tutoring, free tutoring for all students. So really just ample opportunity for you to get connected and feel supported along the way. There are, you know, hundreds of people at the college that their entire job is to try and help you to get connected with what you need and find success. So those are part of our student success services. And that is definitely a good spot for you to get connected with. I'm going to pause there because that's a good time for us to transition over to Lewis. So Lewis, do you want to talk a little bit about your program and how you guys work to help students?
Absolutely, Megan, thank you. Megan, if you could pull up your screen again and just share our KBAP page. First of all, thank you all for having us here. Very excited to be able to spend some time with you. As Dan kind of mentioned earlier, I much rather prefer to have a discussion as opposed to a presentation. So I want to start off by just getting an idea of who is in the room. So by using that thumbs up emoji, can you let me know if you're thinking about college as an option, as a future option? Just give me a thumbs up. Use the thumbs up emoji. Just want to see how many. Okay. Okay. Also, if you can help me out in the chat, how long does it take to complete an associate degree on average at a community college? And this can go to program participants, students, staff. On average, how long does it take to complete an associate degree at a community college? Okay. Two. Seeing some twos, threes, two. Okay. On average, it takes about 3.5 years to complete an associate degree. A student attending full-time could possibly complete that degree within 2 years, but on average, at community colleges across the nation, we're seeing that students are taking more closer to 3.5 years. So my next question is why? Again, if you can engage me by putting answers in the chat, why are students who show up to a community college with the intention of completing in 2 years, why are they not getting done in 2 years? What could be some of the barriers? Finance, employment, transportation. Okay. Okay. All of those are correct. Oh, got more coming in. Underestimated it. Wow, that's a good one. Okay. So I like to explain my program just by addressing some of the barriers because our program was created out of necessity. You know, what we are seeing nationwide at community colleges is that there are a lot of students that are showing up, and these are motivated, capable individuals showing up to college campuses with the goal to complete an associate degree, but far too many are walking away without that degree. Actually, you know, in 2015 KVCC, we were seeing about 15% of our students complete that 2-year degree in 3 years. And that's consistent with college averages nationwide, right? So you have 100 students and maybe 15 or so are getting it done in 3 years. Now that also means that for some students, it's just taking a little bit longer before they actually realize that goal. But still, the number was low enough that we decided that we needed to do something about that. If you take into consideration students that are low income, that number will decrease dramatically, right? So then it's not even 15%. So my program was put in place to kind of address the needs of all students, but we wanted to focus on students who may have financial need. And again, that goes back to that FAFSA that Megan talked about earlier. That's the first step in us determining who's eligible for the KVAP program by completing the FAFSA. KVAP stands for Kalamazoo Valley Accelerated Associate Program. And we call it the associate program because our goal is to graduate students within 2 to 3 years. If you can scroll down a little bit more for me, Megan, thank you. So this is our webpage, this is our website. And I just want to kind of go over the program benefits. So we've addressed some of the barriers, right? And I think the first thing that came up was money, right? So what KVAP does in order to address that barrier for students is, first thing we do is we provide tuition assistance. So if a student completes the FAFSA and does not qualify for a full Pell Grant, basically what we do is we cover whatever the balance of that tuition is. Now, Megan also mentioned that sometimes students could qualify for a full Pell Grant and then they usually get a refund, right? They usually get the refund after the books and supplies are paid for. But our program says that even if you get a full Pell Grant that covers everything, we will still pay for your books and supplies. And for some students, that equates to up to $600 to $900 per semester that they're saving. So again, that's more money that comes back to them for other needs that they may have outside of school. So free textbooks, free tuition, free supplies. But in addition to that, we have a monthly stipend that our students are eligible for. So we do have expectations in KVAP. As long as students are meeting those expectations, they get a $100 stipend each month. And then that $100 stipend can be used for whatever the students decide to use it for. But a lot of our students do use it for those transportation expenses that Megan talked about, right? So whether they want to take the metro, or some students use it for gas, right? One of the things that students don't think about a lot of times, especially pre-COVID when we were on campus, is if you're spending a lot of time on campus, you have to eat. So some people use it kind of as a lunch stipend. Whatever you see fit for, that's an additional $100 per month. So some of the other things that I saw in the chat were kind of like didn't expect it, weren't ready for it, underprepared. And that's something that we see from students as well. It's not that they're not capable of being successful, but it's just not knowing what to expect in college. As Megan mentioned, several students are first generation. So in some ways, they're kind of going through it on their own. Our program kind of works with students to kind of let them know what to be aware for and what supports and resources are available. Because in my opinion, I believe that students that show up to us, they can be successful, but a lot of times they're not connected to those resources and they don't have that support on campus. So that's a thing that we take very seriously. We want to make sure all of our students are taking full advantage of the resources. And then also, some of those resources may be academic. I know for me personally, coming out of high school, I didn't test into college level English. So I was able to get some academic support in writing to get me up to college level. So those are the types of things that we identify early and make sure students are getting the support that they need when they need it. I think I also seen undecided, right? I know we have some career coaches on this call, and I implore you guys to take full advantage of that because that is one of the most significant struggles that students have once they get to campus is not really knowing what they want to do. So we have a career advisor that's designated specifically for our students to work with them closely to do career assessments, some career exploration, and just to talk about career pathways. Because a lot of times students may take classes that they don't need if they're switching their major. So that's something that we want to kind of mitigate and make sure students know what they're doing and stay on track towards that 2 to 3 year graduation goal. Another thing is just, I don't know if this is in the chat at all, but just competing priorities. Give me a thumbs up if you work. Just want to get an idea how many of us are working, right? So again, today's college student is a lot different than a college student from even my time. A lot of our college students are required to work, help support households. And that may also mean taking care of siblings, taking care of their own children. So there are a lot of competing priorities that you have to navigate. So one of the things that KVAP does is we also have a special registration options for students, right? We saw far too many instances where students could not take the classes they needed because they worked during a certain time of day. So in KVAP, what we do is once we identify what a student's pathway is, we ensure by working closely with academic administrators, deans and department chairs that we can designate seats during the times in the classes that our students need to ensure that you can still keep your job and go to school and be successful doing that. The other thing that we're doing is we're trying to identify some more flexible job opportunities for those students that we understand have to work as well. And another thing is the motivation. If you've completed a college degree, you understand that day one is a lot different than day 60, day 90, day 120. You're really motivated at the beginning, but there are going to be significant challenges throughout. It's important to have somebody there to kind of keep you motivated. I know when I reflect on my college career, I had somebody there to kind of help me with that. There were days that I wanted to give up. And I understand now that there are some students who may not have those connections where things get challenging, whether it's in school or outside of school. The easiest thing to do is to just walk away. So with KVAP, you have a program that is not going to allow you to walk away. We will physically restrain you from walking out of the building. I'm kidding. But that's what it's for. It's a network of support. So you have other students with like-minded goals that are going to be in your classrooms that give you another layer of support in addition to the staff. And then in addition to the instructors that we have relationships with. So again, our program is specifically designed to remove any barriers to degree completion to ensure that students that show up to community colleges nationwide can be successful. Megan, if you can scroll down just a little bit. Real quick, these are the eligibility requirements. First thing, apply to KVCC, be eligible for in-district tuition. So we serve the Kalamazoo County area. But I do want to point out, because I see some of my colleagues from Benton Harbor on this call, and I know Grand Rapids. So there are students who attend Valley who establish residency at Valley, even though they may be from Benton Harbor or Grand Rapids, that are eligible for in-district tuition. Those students will be eligible for KVAP as well. We do require all our students to attend full-time. And one of the things that we found out is that a lot of students may not understand or think they have the capacity to go full-time. So we work closely with them. We work closely with a counselor to maybe show you that there is a possibility to do that. Also, you have to be pursuing one of our program pathways, which I'll show you guys in a second. Completing that FAFSA, that determines that there is some financial need. And then also, if you're a transfer student, we do look at GPA. But that's something that we have a lot of flexibility on as far as like acceptance. And then our program expectations, I kind of talked about this briefly. We require all of our students to meet regularly with a counselor. So when you're first year in KVAP, twice a month, you're going to meet with a counselor. We do that because we want to build a relationship with you. We want to know what your challenges are. We want to know how it's going in the classroom, and we want you to be comfortable sharing that. A lot of the information we get from our students, we're sharing that back with instructors and administrators. So we're also helping to improve our practices as an institution. It's valuable. But also we want to be able to provide the resources when they're needed. We require our students to attend a bi-weekly seminar. In this bi-weekly seminar, we're focusing on things like setting goals and developing other skills, networking, successful classroom behaviors, things that we feel will be beneficial to the student on campus and also off campus. And then also when we were on campus, we had a study table requirement that has shifted to a Canvas assignment on a weekly basis. It takes students about 5 minutes to complete. But what it does is it allows us to kind of know how students are progressing and keeping them engaged with our program. And then you have to do your FAFSA each year. And probably the most important is just communication, right? I know, again, a lot of times when things get tough, we tend to avoid things or disappear. We're constantly encouraging our students to lean on us and rely on us. I feel we have a staff that is equipped to address any need that a student may have. So communication is constantly encouraged. So that's KVAP program in a nutshell. There are additional benefits that I won't go into because I'll talk about this for far longer than you guys will probably want to endure. But if there are any questions, put them in the chat or I'll be happy to take some now.
Louis, there's not the first thing is a comment, and I echo it. It says, that's amazing. This KVAP program is truly amazing. And then the question that has come in, how long does a student have to be a Kalamazoo resident before they are eligible?
Megan, bag me up on this. I believe it's 30 days.
Yep, that's correct, Louis. And depending on if somebody's coming for fall and what time they're applying, that can even be a little bit shorter, but typically about 30 days. In some cases too, you can even get a refund. So like if you start the fall semester out of district, but then you move in here in the beginning of September and gain the residencies for us, for our sake, for in districts like by October, you can even get refund to that in district rate for that term.
Okay.
Louis, do you want to share your video?
I'll actually, if we have time, if you scroll down, I just want to share, this is a student testimony of one of our students. Again, our KVAP cohort is very diverse with students from Kalamazoo, Portage, Vicksburg, Galesburg, and then also other schools. But this is just a testimony of one of the students. I think a lot of times students are interested in KVAP because of the financial benefit that they get. But this video really kind of shows the other things that kind of come with it that students are far more appreciative of once they enter the program.
Okay.
My name is Imani Lewis, and I was born and raised in Kalamazoo, Michigan. So I came to my mom, and I told her, Mom, I really want to go to college. Have you put any money aside or anything? And she said, no, but if you believe you can go, you can go. A few weeks later, I heard about payback. I remember someone came to my school, and my dean, he knew I wanted to go to college, and he told me, you should go sit into this meeting about payback. So obviously I went because there was pizza. I didn't really care about payback, but I went because there was pizza. And as I was sitting there, I was hearing her talking about, the stipends, the books getting paid for, the tuition being waived and everything. And I'm just like, this is obviously too good to be true. So once I finally was told that I was officially a KBAP student, I was just so excited. I was excited to be in KBAP. I was excited to study. I was excited to get work turned in early and on time because the counselors were keeping me on track. I was holding myself accountable because of the meetings I would have with my counselors, because of the check-ins and study time. But you're literally getting paid for what you're supposed to be doing anyway in college, and you're getting so many other benefits, like building connections with counselors and the other KBAP students. And because of KBAP, you're already in touch with a counselor. So when you need them, they're there. And I know that if it weren't for KBAP, I definitely would not be going to college right now.
And Louis, there's one more question that's come into the
Sure.
chat. What's the percentage that you accept versus applications to the KVAP program?
Good question. So typically we end up accepting about 45 to 50% of our applicants, but it's not because we're turning applicants down. It's because a lot of times students are not completing, and could be the theme of this whole conversation, the FAFSA. That's something that we have to determine what your financial need is, and to determine how much tuition and things like that we'll be providing for you. So a lot of times it's just the application process, but I always encourage students to reach out to us for that too. Megan, if you can scroll down, because FAFSA is something that you are going to need to complete, we want to help you with that. So even if you don't have an interest, yeah, that's just our staff there. But even if you don't have an interest in KVAP specifically, reach out to us for FAFSA assistance. It's that important. But definitely, if you're thinking about being in KVAP, we'll walk you through all the admission requirements to make sure that you have an opportunity to participate.
That background is so cool.
It is, isn't it?
Mhm.
All right, well, Louis, if that's kind of it for you, I'd like to open up to any other questions that anyone else might have for Megan or Louis. All right, crickets. I think a part of it is because you guys did a wonderful job of explaining everything. It was really informational and really helpful. So thank you to both of you. For students, if you're interested, please reach out to your specialist or teacher. And then specialists, managers, if you guys have questions about it, reach out to myself or Elizabeth, and we can get you in contact with Megan or Louis. But really great presentation from you guys. Love just the information and the opportunities that is offered. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for attending. And again, any questions, reach out to myself, and hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for coming, Louis and Megan, you guys.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having us.